This is Mike. Hopefully you can hear me.
Perfect, Mike. We can hear you really well. Thank you.
It's Brandon Roque. I'm here. Jim Jorgensen here.
Kelly Jensen here.
And we are all here this evening. Good. Do I have a motion to adopt the regular board meeting or the regular meeting agenda? Is there anything that we need to change about the agenda before we?
No changes.
All right, board. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Thank you all. Call the question.
Mike, aye.
Brandon, aye. Jim Jorgensen, aye.
Kelly, aye.
4 board members, aye. Board president, aye. 5-0. The agenda is adopted. Do we have any public participation or comment at this time? Hearing none. Do I have a motion that we adjourn to closed session?
This is Brandon, so moved.
This is Mike. I'll second it.
Call the question.
Mike, aye.
Brandon, aye. Aye.
Kelly, aye.
Board 4, board president, aye. 5-0. We're adjourned to closed session at 6:34 p.m. See the public back at 7:30.
The Acton Agua Dulce Unified School District Board of Trustees meeting has commenced. They just went into closed session, so we'll be back in about an hour for the regular meeting.
Certainly.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Fox. I will read the civility statement now. When conducting the district's business, we will communicate clearly and concisely with a respect for the time of others. We will listen objectively, carefully considering the opinions of others. We'll understand the counterproductive effects of disruptive, demeaning, and intimidating behaviors. We'll understand and respect district policies and procedures, and we will maintain a respect for the rich history of the district and the efforts of others who have served in the past. Are there any public comments? No public comments. Recognition reports, Mr. King?
None this evening.
All right, we'll move right into correspondence, proposals, and reports. AATA representative. There she is. Thank you. Do you have any comments this evening?
Yes, thank you. I was waiting to be unmuted. This is Melissa Trussell, president of Acton Agua Dulce Youth Business Association, and I'm going to move to the side so everybody can see my Bitmoji avatar classroom. These are my students. So anyway, I just wanted to say thank you to everybody. I know everybody is working hard. I know we have a lot of dedicated teachers, staff, support staff in our district. I wanted to take this time to thank everybody for all of their hard work. We're all exhausted. The families are exhausted. The students are exhausted. It is something that we are working through. But I just wanted to say that we continue to go above and beyond, reaching out to families and building our lessons and our curriculum so that we can reach our students during this time. So other than that, we're still working hard. We work every day, all day, and we will continue to do so because we are very dedicated to our profession and to our students. And we thank the families also for having patience and grace during this process. So I hope everybody has a good night.
Thank you very much. You just took away all my comments this evening. CSEA representative. Okay, we'll move ahead. Student representative to the board.
Hello, all I wanted to report is from Vasquez that their picture day is next Wednesday. They had an online teacher Zoom meet and greet that seemed to go very well. And the kids are very, for my grade at least, and most of the grades in Vasquez, they're very excited to be back into sports. So I thank you from the students to be moving into sports.
Thank you, young man. Superintendent Gold Standard report, please.
Okay, so we have a couple different things. The first thing is I'd like to give an update on COVID and where we're at with that. This morning we had our weekly meeting with the Los Angeles County Department of Public Health. We are still in the holding pattern in the purple tier. Again, there's 4 tiers. If you look at this map here, California, that's LA County. It's the purple color. There's 2 criteria again that we need to look at. One is the test positivity metric, which is based on a percentage. And the second is the number of cases per 100,000, and that's a raw number of positive cases. We were doing well, as I understand it from our phone call this morning, getting closer to that 7 is the number we need to be at. And it hasn't been updated on this map yet, but we're not going to go below 7 based on the current numbers. They're seeing a spike. They indicated that's probably related to the Labor Day weekend. They've seen that same pattern after each of the 3-day weekend holidays and July 4th also. So that's the update there. And so we are back on that track where you have to be 2 weeks meeting both criteria to drop to the next tier, and then you have to stay in that next tier for another 2 weeks. So essentially 4 weeks before you're allowed to move into a hybrid situation, bringing students back to school. So that takes care of that piece. The next thing I'd like to talk about is we have a holiday Monday, so just to our Jewish families, those that celebrate Yom Kippur, that is the Day of Atonement in that faith. And so those that will be celebrating that, we wish you a good Yom Tov, as we say. I'd like to support Ms. Troussell's comments and just echo her comments. Again, living with somebody who teaches 2nd grade, I see the amount of work firsthand that goes into preparation, assessing students, trying to teach young children, in this case 2nd grade, reading, writing, and mathematics, in addition to teaching them how to use various platforms and interfaces. So I commend our teaching staff for all they're doing, and all of our staff for the support they're giving them in order to provide our students the best education possible given the circumstances. In regards to Kent Fairbanks, thank you again for being here and making your comments. Yes, we are happy that we're able to bring the athletics back in terms of what we're able to do under the industry standard guidelines that are given to us. And so we are allowing students in small cohorts to do conditioning and individual training in cohorts throughout the school outside. And I'm glad that we were able to do that. And thank you for your patience. Board, if you should have received an email with a board agenda calendar that kind of roughed out and outlined the items for the year. That's a flexible working agenda calendar, just as we've done the past couple of years. That kind of gives you an overview from an annual standpoint of what are the routine items we bring up each month. And we can certainly add to those things or take away based on the needs of the district. The next thing I'd like to talk about is I just want to point out that our district was invited to attend a national let's see, do we have that one up there? I'm sorry, Caesar, you're right. I'm going to do facilities first. Thank you. So the first thing on facilities I want to talk about is some general things happening at our school sites. I want to thank Mr. Ernesto Mora for continuing to keep our sites clean and safe for staff. Pending restoration of 2 rooms at the Aadusd campus. So we talked about those a little bit. We'll keep you updated on those. They're coming along very nicely though, and those will be part of our technology plan that's aligned with our strategic plan. At Higher Desert, the concrete work has been completed. They repaired the front iron gates. Brush clearance has been taken care of on Escondido Road at Vasquez High School, and replaced the floor in the classroom at the Aadusd campus. And of course, sanitizing and disinfecting measurements have been implemented each day. There's a couple pictures here I'd like to point out to the board and the community. So you see these plexiglass dividers. These allow us to bring back students of particular need. So one of the things the industry standard guidelines allow us to do is in the case of meeting certain students' needs where they really can't be met in any way at home, it allows them to come in for assessments or for one-on-one work with an itinerant specialist. And so this is really complying with the standards and allowing us to meet the needs of certain students. So we appreciate the work that went into this in preparation now. I want to point out here, I know this grass looks like just dirt over the summer, but again, I want to thank Ernesto Mora. He's ensured and appreciate the work he's done there to have that come back every year. So thank you for that. Yeah, this is a piece having to do with an invitational. So they're having an invitational summit Novembers 15th through 17th for 75 school districts across the country. And our district was fortunate enough to be included in that invitational. And I'm proud to represent our district always. I'm particularly proud on occasions like this when our school district is identified as somebody that they feel that can support and collaborate and work with school districts across the country towards the 6 bullet points that you see up on this slide. So they're all COVID related, and they're extremely pertinent and current topics. So again, proud to represent the district on something like that. Saturday, March 6th will be a board workshop. That's going to be done by a facilitator we brought in before, Mr. Dennis Smith. And it's just a refresher course for our board. And so we'll continue to remind the board and community of that, but we always appreciate when Dennis comes in to kind of facilitate and make sure we're doing everything we need to do as a board in terms of governance and so on to support the district. The last piece I have is I'd like to talk a little bit about back to school nights. So since the last board meeting, there's been 2 more back to school nights. The first one I'd like to talk about is at Vasquez High School. I just again want to commend our teachers, our administrators, our staff, for classified staff. You guys did a tremendous job. Everybody did a lot of work on this. You can click around on here, trustees and community, and see any number of people speaking out about their role and what they do to support students. So let's take a look at what Vasquez High School is doing.
First off, I do want to link, of course, what they're doing within a school setting and how that relates to the real world. So that's the School to Career Transitions. I, of course, want them to develop skills, habits, and attitude that help them be successful within whatever job they decide to go into, and, of course, help them grow as a person. I want to assist them in career exploration. That way they have that connection with their employers and it helps them just grow into the career that they'd like to choose. And then finally, I want them to have that positive work ethic. So that way that they have those positive relationships with their employers, with fellow employees, because that's just a good quality to have in any job.
Miss Alexa Lab, just to remind everybody, she is a teacher on special assignment, positioned at the high school, and she's just done a tremendous job over there and just representing, you know, all of the staff over there. That same quality can be seen if you click around on the different back to school night videos at the high school. And so our next one, is that from the middle school? Another high school one? Okay, let's take a look at one more high school one. And I believe this is our Spanish teacher, Miss Karina Torres. Sure. You know, we can, if not, board, I will send this one to you just so you can see it, or if we get it up running at some point, then we can show it. So here's the map they use, and here you click on Miss Torres on the map, and so we just add a shortcut to it, but you can go in this way as well. Same thing?
Yeah.
That's all right. Okay. Well, should we try the middle school? Okay, so while Mr. Ortiz is bringing that up, again, these are just links you can click on board, and if you go to the high school one, again, you can click on different classrooms and get a virtual tour of the classroom, the teacher's expectations, their standards, how they assess students, and so everything's very clear regarding student expectations. Yeah. That's all right. We're good. They can click on it. It's easier and it's no problem. You want to try a middle school one? You think, or is it an internet connection?
Let's try it.
Okay.
Good evening, parents, guardians, and students, and welcome to High Desert Schools Back to School Night 2020. This is your chance to get to know your teachers and learn more about their program. So let's jump right in and get to meet our amazing staff. In 5th grade, Ted Pelham.
Thank you. So just a little flavor of what they were doing at the middle school. Appreciate the creative theme there, Mission Impossible or Mission Possible. And moving on, do we have submissions? We have one submission this evening. Ms. Shea, if you're out there, you can please introduce the gentleman from Assurance Learning Academy. And I'll save some time, that's okay. If you want to just click on Jeff Martineau, I'm going to do the introduction for you. Shay, normally we'd be live, but let's just to keep things moving. So Mr. Jeff Martineau is here, and I believe he has a few brief comments.
Good evening, Board President Falsagraph, board members, and Superintendent King. My name is Jeff Martineau, representative for Assurance Learning Academy. Thank you for allowing us the opportunity this evening to submit a material revision for the Assurance Learning Academy Charter. Included in your binders is a cover sheet outlining the changes made within the charter petition, which includes the relocations of 2 learning centers and legal and operational updates to the charter. We look forward to providing you more information at the upcoming public hearing. Should you have any questions or need additional information, please do not hesitate to let me know. Thank you for your consideration and continued support of Assurance Learning Academy.
Thank you, Jeff. That's it for submissions?
Yes, thank you.
All right, we're moving to board member comments. Past President Mike Fox, please start us off.
Good evening, this is Mike Fox. Just very briefly, I'd like to thank Ms. Trissell for her comments. The level of dedication and the honesty of of her comments is very much appreciated. Thank you to all our teachers for helping our students navigate this year. That's it for me.
Thank you, Mike. Brandon.
Good evening, everyone. First off, Ms. Trissell, I love the new background. It looks awesome. That was a great touch. And as always, thank you for the AATA report. It's always great to hear what's going on. I also want to thank our teachers, staff, food services, admin, and ultimately everyone at our schools who continue to work hard for our students during the COVID crisis. I can't imagine the difficulty you guys are going through, and truly my hat's off to you for all your hard work. I'm extremely happy to hear our sports are going back in and opening up. I've always been a firm believer that sports are a major aspect to student success, and I can honestly say sports were a major aspect to myself in middle school, high school, so I can't tell you how happy I am to see that things are starting to open up on that side. Beyond that, thank you to all our teachers for the back to school nights. Those interactive setups were awesome. I still have a couple more I need to play around with. And as always, I hope our community, our parents, our students are all staying safe and healthy. Thank you.
Thank you. Coach Jorgensen.
Well, first off, congratulations to all 3 of our sites, Meadowlark, High Desert, and Vasquez for their virtual back to school night. It was a new one for everybody, and they all did very, very well. Kudos to High Desert with their Mission Possible. That one was really great. I want to just extend my appreciation and thanks to everybody who's working hard and single out our teachers, because teachers are that unique profession that at the end of the day, the work day, the school day, most people go home and then they start doing other activities, but teachers go home and they continue to work for long hours of night prepping for the next day's work. And so our teachers are no exception. They're exceptional in their field. It was my pleasure to work with them for 18 years, and I want to make sure that they're appreciated and thanked for their hard work. Students are working hard to get through this. Parents are being patient. As a small district, we're able to be flexible and respond to needs as we can. And like Brandon said, with athletics coming back, where we're doing offsite conditioning so they can start to prep. Is my understanding the season's going to be starting somewhere around the first week in December. Having 2 seasons for the balance of the school year, doing some jumping around, moving teams around. And I think that that'll be a positive for all of our students to be able to give them some physical activity, because everybody's homebound doing a lot of things that we can't do. Athletics is going to be successful for their health and for their academic achievement. Wishing everybody to stay safe and be well. Thanks again.
Thank you, Coach Jorgensen. Kelly.
Good evening, everyone. I just want to say again, I'd like to thank our staff for all of their hard work. To the teaching profession, it's tough out there, and you know, teaching is a profession that you spend a lot of your personal time preparing lessons, and in this unique situation, you're trying to navigate through a new learning environment and teaching environment. So I want to give a shout out to our teachers, and also to our certificated and our students and our child nutrition, and also our cabinet. And I just want to give a shout out, Mr. King had mentioned earlier about the invitation to the national invitation that we are invited to, and I look forward to that. And if you recall, when we talked about our strategic plan, we've always kind of said that it would be really great to put this plan together and really put our district out there, because we've been kind of a silo for so long, and it's nice to see that we're getting the recognition of such a great district that I know that we are, and that we're really doing so well, and how well our strategic plan is coming together. And I'd just like to thank all the hard work of just all of our employees and our community for doing all this great work. The back to school nights were great and just so creative, so that was really fun to see. And going into those maps and just getting to see the teachers on a personal level and their own unique way of doing their classrooms was really great. And I understand that also took a lot of their time as well on top of teaching. So I really appreciate that, teachers, for all of that. That was fantastic. And to our administrators. That's all I have for this evening. And just for me, I'm just honored to support our community at this time, and doing something that I love when working with students. So thank you all so much.
Thank you, board members. I'm going to keep it kind of short tonight, believe that or not, but in my work environment, there's a morning meeting about COVID and what the city is going to do and whatever. And I think anybody that works in government or public sector understands what a listserv is, and that's I ask a question, I find out what other cities are doing, we find out what everyone else is doing, because God forbid we could do anything unique ourselves. So the listservs, when it came to COVID and stuff, there was a lot about how do you sanitize rooms, how do you put arrows on the floor, how do you, which mask do you need to do, how do you negotiate with people, all those kinds of things. We've seen a radical change lately, and the focus has gone completely away from that to how you support small businesses in recovering from COVID and get them back open, because guys, the bottom line is the economy is crashing. So, when it comes to what we do here at the school district, our teachers and our staff were dealt a lot of moving parts coming together very quickly. And in a union environment, an organized environment, things are negotiated. And sometimes people are adjusting to things. They actually would like to be able to make themselves measurable and to understand what it is that's expected and how it's going to benefit kids. And sometimes that's a slow process. I want to remember that we started this off being good at putting kids in classrooms. Now, as we got away from that, it was devastating to the district. We have had a drop in ADA that's been devastating. There are funding considerations coming on with charters and that type of thing. So I'm telling you that not only has this COVID thing been devastating to the regional economy in terms of businesses, but also the state, federal, and international economies. So it's time to focus back up and get on the business of getting back in the classroom. I personally am not that interested in hybrid this or hybrid that. I like to see the kids in the classrooms, and I think the I've said this before, teachers are really good at taking a group of kids and figuring out how to move them along with the most gifted one and the one that's having a struggle today getting it, but we'll get it tomorrow. And that's where our strength is, that's where our brand is, and I think we're gonna recuperate well. Now, every once in a while, you'll hear some things about, well, somebody didn't have the information they need. I need to tell you that in a negotiated association environment, you don't put all the cards on the table and tell everybody whatever everyone is doing. And some things need to be negotiated. And I will tell you that we've been through the worst of that. There are going to be some things that need to be negotiated when we come back to the table and get closer to the classroom. And my expectation and belief is that the staff that educates kids and those that support those that educate kids are going to look ahead, kind of see what's coming and work with staff to make those happen quickly. One of the dismaying things that I've heard in the community is under my presidency of all presidencies, that there's been some issue with transparency. If you really believe that, find my address and come and see me at my front door, because I really like to talk to you about that. Short of that, I'm very happy with the way things are moving along. I'm seeing promise that we're going to be back in the classroom. The fact that we're going to be starting to compete in sports and other things, I'd like to see the arts and other things moved along. I've heard some rumors, some positive rumors in the public, believe that or not, that there's going to be some of the arts and things are going to start showing up online and things like that. So I'm really, really happy about that. I'm seeing positive movement that we're going to be back in the classroom, and thanks staff for everything you're doing. We're going to get you back in there and everybody's going to be happy again, and we're going to do what we do. Thank you. We will move along to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to move in the consent agenda? And while we're doing this, I want to explain to everyone there are minutes on the agenda. There's a warrant register that outlines district purchases. There is fogging up glasses that cause me not to be able to read what I'm doing here. There is item E, Apex Learning quote. There's an Apple Education iPad quote. There's an Amazon iPad hard case cover quote. There's a Pearson Pro Forma Electronic Library of Special Education Assessment Protocols. And there is a CDW quote for 300 Chromebooks. That said, board, is there anything you would like to pull off of the consent agenda to have discussed on its own?
This Brandon, okay. I just wanted to ask one quick question about item F. So I'm not sure if it needs to be pulled.
Which item?
Item F, the Apple Education price quote for the iPads.
Okay, and I want to pull item E, Apex Learning quote. So board, is there anything else you'd like to pull? Hearing nothing, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as modified, pulling item E, Apex Learning quote, and item F, Apple Education iPad quote? Do I have a motion?
Brandon, okay, second.
Call the question.
This is just for clarification. Item E and item F will be discussed and voted on separately?
Yes, yes, Mike. You've got a fax background noise. Call the question.
Mike Fox, aye.
Brandon, okay, aye.
Ted Jorgensen, aye.
Kelly Jensen, aye.
Board 4 ayes. Board President, aye. Consent agenda passes with the discussion of item E and item F to follow. I will introduce item E, Apex Learning quote. Larry, could you frame this quickly for us? Item E, Apex Learning Quote.
Okay, so Apex is part of the online instruction that we use for credit recovery, and that's part of the homeschooling program.
Okay. My concern about this is over the next year, I would hope that the board or the staff would look at this and determine if there's an annual update that needs to take place, if it's indeed effective. I'm looking at a dollar amount price here. It appears to be about a 1.5 ADA. And so if 1.5 students get some value out of this, it's a wash. But if we're going to invest in these programs, especially when it comes time where we need them, and I think there was a time that we needed this, like right now, we didn't anticipate this coming. It's been a tool for some people. I think it works well if people are incarcerated and need the district to support their education. I think if people have temporary health issues, that's one thing of doing it, but I think swinging into homeschooling to support people that are affected by COVID and economics and things like that, we want to make sure that we have the best program out there and the most updated program. That's the comment I have. Does anyone else have a comment on item E, Apex Learning Quote?
I have a question.
Go ahead, please.
So I heard in your comments, Larry, if I'm not mistaken, this is for credit recovery for students who are enrolled at our schools, correct?
That's correct.
So this is not available to homeschool students?
Kim Shaw, if you want to speak to this, you can, but my understanding is that it's been historically the credit recovery program that we've used, and in the transition, we also have the other program, Edgenuity, but there was some concern about training and staff training to getting done in a timely manner, and so as a bridge, we're keeping Apex, and to Mr. Fallsgraff's point, there are more than a couple students enrolled in that program for credit recovery.
Right, because I can recall in the past, we used education options and virtual academy, having anywhere from 15 to 25, 30 students going in and out as they would recover from a class that they failed, a basic elective class or whatever, and so that they could get back on the graduation track. But this Apex, we got rid of those two other programs, now Apex is filling that need for credit recovery. But again, this is credit recovery for students enrolled in our school district. It's not it's not for students who are in the homeschool program. Is that correct?
I'm
yeah,
here.
Go ahead, Ms. Shaw. Yeah.
There are some students enrolled in it as a homeschool option currently, through Vasquez.
For incidental courses or for their entire curriculum?
My understanding is for their entire curriculum, but there's not that many, and it's also for students that have conflict in their schedule.
Okay, so a concern about homeschool students, because homeschool students are students where parents have elected to homeschool their student at home, but Apex is being taught and coordinated by staff at the sites, correct?
Yes, it's Apex is more like independent study.
Grades their papers, the staff and the university that we have this.
Yeah, the TOSA at Vasquez is in charge of Apex and correcting papers.
So essentially, they're not homeschooled. They're taught by our TOSA, our staff person.
Right. So it's more of an independent study than a homeschool, but they don't come on campus, I guess is more of a clarification.
That clarifies it for me, so that they won't be on campus, and when we return to campus, they're not on campus. But then as we transition to opening up athletics, they're in the past were students who were choosing this program and still wanting to be eligible for athletics, where homeschool students are not technically eligible under CIF rules. And because they were taking their class whenever they wanted to work on it in the evenings, on a Saturday, on a Sunday, rather than have the rigor of going through classes during the school day, Monday through Friday. I know it's only onesie, twosie, hopefully 3 or 4 students, but I just wanted to clarify that we're trying to keep this for credit recovery purposes, not as a full-blown, someone can enroll in this and take all 5 of their classes, all of their core classes and their elective classes on APEC.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm gonna pick back up on this. Remember, this is not a debate, and we've gone past the days of board members trying to convince each other of something. We are in a very unique situation. I am not interested in why someone can't not get their kid to school, or whether or not they're this or that. This Apex Learning Program, you have the capacity to take your entire curriculum. The district is still, you are still a student of the district. The district receives funding, and the district is actually offering its customers a means of doing this. I think the demand is set by the customer. I'm not in the position to force people to go here or go there, but I think there is a demand for it. And what I'm saying is, if there is a demand for it, especially right now during this COVID thing, we don't know people's personal situation, their financial situation, their ability to get in a car and drive, their medical condition, whether they're injured or what. My concern is that if we are offering this, that this is a program that is completely functional, and that if we're going to continue to use it, that the update for the program considers is accurate. I don't want to see it lag and find out that we're 2 or 3 years behind in an update. That's the point I was making tonight. So, that said, I'm going to call this to question. Apex Learning Contract 2021.
This is Mike Fox. Aye.
Brenner, okay, aye.
Kelly Jensen, aye.
Board 4, Board President, aye, 5-0. Let's move on to the item. Brandon Roque pulled Apple Education iPad quote. Brandon, is there something you'd like to open us with on this?
Yeah, I just have 2 quick clarifying questions with this. The first one being on the actual quote itself, under details and comments, it's specifically...
Sorry, Brandon, hang on just a minute. I'm going to move this in. Brandon, can you second it?
Yeah, Brandon, okay, second.
Go ahead.
So under the details and comments, this one's primarily just a clarification. It states it's a 10-pack and the quantity is 20. Based on the list price, I'm assuming we're only ordering 20 and there's singles, but because of the details and comments, I just want the clarification, we're not ordering 200.
Yeah, that's accurate. That's correct.
Okay, I just saw the 10-pack thing and it made me a little worried. The other question I have is particularly why we're going with iPads rather than adding on extra Chromebooks, because I know we did the we're doing the quote for the 300 Chromebooks as well. Is there a specific reason we're doing iPads for this and Chromebooks for others?
There was, and I'll let my staff expand and feel free to clarify for me. My understanding and recalling the conversation on this is that it had to do with availability. Everybody was demanding Chromebooks, and there was lots of purchases being made at the time through school districts throughout the state, and therefore we were able to expedite the process by going with a different type of device.
Okay, fair enough. That's good to know. Awesome, thank you.
Larry, would it be accurate to say that some of these are used for special education students who are possibly not verbal, lack fine motor skills, and it talks about using these to do assessments, and that they are loss mitigation funds to be used by the end of the year related specifically to COVID. So this is in the face of a national lawsuit filed in both California and New York, claiming that all special education students are not receiving free appropriate public education, and that this district, along with every district in the state of California, has been named in this lawsuit as an indicator that the district is trying to do the best they can to conduct fair assessments, to give special education students and the people performing the assessments the ability, and this is what staff has chosen to pick.
That's 100% accurate, yes.
Okay. I, looking at this, need to recuse myself from the vote on this. Board, call the question.
Jeez.
This is Mike Fox. Aye.
Brandon Roque, aye.
Kelly Jensen, aye.
Thank you very much. The consent agenda has passed. Let's move on to tab 9, Education and Pupil Services. And these are a series, I believe, of board policies that we had the first reading on last time. I am going to suggest this. Let me see here. On to item B. Board Policy 5145.7, Administrative Regulation 5145.7, Sexual Harassment. Any discussion from the board? Hearing none, I'm going to move on to item C, Title 9, Sexual Harassment Complaint Procedures. Any discussion from the board? Before I call the question, I have comment. I want to make it very clear that for some reason we need to update policies constantly. We need to expand definitions. We need to have laws. We need to have all types of things. The district has always had board policies regarding harassment. Board policy is the equivalent of, you do not drive down Antelope Valley Freeway at 100 miles an hour. If I'm the only one not doing that, that's probably a miracle today. But nonetheless, the speed limit is 65. So the board policy says this is the policy. Now, some people may think that you just get on the board and you just do whatever you want and there's a wave of a hand, and as long as you get 2 votes with you, you're good to go. If you look at the back of these documents, and they're very thick, at the back of each one you see court cases that precedent is set in state and federal law. You see sometimes county, but more likely state and federal law. And then you see educational policy against state and federal law. You see resources to past President Fox's question about what is this stuff based on. We just don't come up with this. So federal regulations, as you see on the screen right now, say that you do this and adopt it on this day. So we spend a lot of time going through stuff like this, but here's my take on things. People adopts them, there are plenty of mandates and law behind them, and this is part of the work we do, and this is where all of our trees go. Call the question, board.
Mike Fox, aye.
Brandon Roque, aye.
Kelly Jensen, aye.
Board 4 ayes, board president aye. All of these are now board policies and administrative regulations, and I believe we're in compliance.
Mr. President?
Yes, sir.
One question. Did we get a public comment earlier on this, Your Honor?
well then, because this is what it is, I'll be happy to hear that, and we may have to reintroduce this and vote again. I don't have a problem with that. Can we get that to me so I can read it? Oh, it was not on this.
No. It was on consent agenda.
Yes.
In regards to
Okay, there is a public comment that's come in. It's incomplete. I'm going to ask the board's support on public comment regarding Apex, that the superintendent contact the individual that made the comment and address their concern. Hearing nothing, let's go about that. Thank you for your comment, and the superintendent's office will contact you, I imagine, sometime tomorrow morning. Moving right along. Personnel and Human Resources, item 10. We have, I'm going to try to do the same thing here. I pretty much wore myself out talking about my views on harassment and how many dictionaries we needed to find someone who is a harasser. We have items A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and I. I'm going to ask that we move all these in together. I'm going to read each one. If there's any discussion, I'll ask the board for that. And at the end, if you want to vote for them collectively, if there's nothing sticking out. Again, these have been read the first time, and these documents have been made available to the public, both 3 days prior to the last board meeting and 3 days prior to this. There are mostly red lines that notify the public of changes in either board policies, the administrative regulations that affect how board policies are carried out in case there is a problem, and that is that. So do I have a motion to pull these into the meeting, please?
Brandon Roque, second.
Okay, board, I'm going to read through these. If you want to stop on one, let me know right away. Item A, new title, 9, sexual harassment complaint procedures. Item B, administrative regulation 4030, non-discrimination in employment. Oh, this is the section about that basically regards employees of the district and representatives of the district. In other words, any adult that walks on this campus and represents people who provide education to students of this district. Moving on, item C, board policy 4119.11, administrative regulation 4119.11, sexual harassment. Item D, board policy 4219.11, administrative regulation 4219.11, sexual harassment. Hearing nothing, moving along. Item E, board policy 4319.11, administrative regulation 4319.11, sexual harassment. We're getting into the federal regulations regarding training and procedure of investigation. Item F, new Title IX, sexual harassment complaint procedures, administrative regulation 4119.12. Item G, new administrative regulation 4219.11, Title IX, sexual harassment complaint procedures. Hearing nothing. Item H, new Title IX, sexual harassment complaint procedures, administrative regulation 4319.12. Hearing nothing. Item I, Board Policy 5145.3, Administrative Regulation 5145.3, Non-Discrimination and Harassment. Board with no questions or comments, last call. Call to question items A through I.
Fox, aye.
Brandon Roque, aye.
Tim Douglas, aye.
Kelly Jensen, aye.
Board 4, Board President, I, 5-0. Thank you, district staff, for assuring that there is no discrimination and harassment taking place on our campuses. Thank you very much. Moving on to tab 11, item A, adoption of the learning continuity and attendance plan. Do I have a motion?
This is Kelly, so moved.
Brandon Roque, second.
Larry, would you introduce this?
Absolutely. So on the learning continuity plan, just to remind the board of the timeline, we're expected to have this adopted by our board, which we're doing this evening, after a first read, which we did at the last board meeting, prior to the end of this month. So we are right on schedule, we're right on track. As stated, it was posted for the public for input up through the 16th in order to give staff time to make any changes prior to the board getting it for the weekend and posting it 72 hours before this board meeting. We did not receive any feedback other than what we got prior to the last board meeting for your first read. And the next step in the process is that we would now submit this after the adoption this evening to the county. We'll then receive a letter from the county either saying that your plan is good as is, or you can expect to get some feedback from the county after they go through that document. The timeline states that they must give us that feedback by October 30th. We then have a certain amount of time in which we need to make those corrections, revisions, and return the document to the county.
Okay, board, do you have any questions or comments about this? Hearing none. Last call, guys. I have the following comments. This plan, this learning continuity plan, basically says that we will shut your schools down. We'll make it where students cannot attend classrooms. We'll have you do virtual learning and everything else. We'll turn your world upside down, and then about 3 months later, we'll ask you to assure that everyone will continue to learn and will attend school, and we expect you to put that plan in. That's basically what this is. Everybody does it. It's been a rush to understand, number one, whether we were going to be back in school or not, what this looked like. And it involved some level of reach out to the stakeholders in the community, including educators, parents, students, and community members. It's my understanding that the superintendent's office reached out to the site councils. Correct, which is very different than the parent groups. Different in function.
Correct.
And that certainly federal and state mandated groups like ELAC and DLAC were consulted.
Yes.
and that this plan, until it is adopted, similar to the LCAP or the district budget, using unaudited actuals as an example, that until the LACO approves this, it is a draft regardless of whether it's been approved by the board. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So in the event that staff were to be reaching out to LACO, which is part of a professional relationship, to consult with them and say, hey, we're thinking about this, is this within boundaries? That type of interaction would take place commonly. Would that be correct?
Absolutely, yes.
As a professional courtesy, I might call up someone and say, what are you doing?
Yes.
So the likelihood that this document, as it is adopted by the board as a draft tonight, that it will be the exact same product in the end when it is either approved or rejected by LACO. Until it is approved by LACO, this is a draft.
That's correct.
And we will expect some changes based on the comments.
Yes.
All right. Do you anticipate that there's going to be egregious changes where the plan will be rejected, or that they'll say, no, that's just not within educational norms?
I do not expect that.
Good, thank you. There's a reason I ask these questions. Sometimes I already know the answers. At the end of the day, board, call to question.
Mike Fox, aye.
Brandon Roque, aye.
Kelly Jensen, aye.
Board 4, Board President, aye. It passes, and on behalf of the board, staff, thank you for the challenges you've had. Thank you for working hard. Mr. Sal, you captured it perfectly. This is an example of more work that has to be done in a very short period of time, and everyone coming together to do that. Thank you so much. Item 12, future agenda items.
I have a couple of things here, and if it's please the president, I'd like to make just one comment on
Please.
On the entire harassment, Title IX procedures and so on that were passed. I was just remiss, and I want to commend Yolanda McCauley, because part of the job of the superintendent's office is to vet out board policies, administrative regulations, and work with CSBA. In doing so, Yolanda McCauley did receive a Title IX certification that was to be recognized. So I just wanted to bring that to the board's attention, and she did work with Kim Shaw, our Title IX officer, to ensure that all these were correct and accurate.
So just yet one more thing that makes Yolanda McCauley irreplaceable in the district.
Correct, and
so maybe we should add Yolanda McCauley Day onto future agenda items.
Well, we do have a couple things that are future agenda items. We want to put in here Assurance of Learning Academy public hearing October 8th and recommendation for board vote November 12th. Aadusd Agua Dulce October 8th submission. Aadusd Agua Dulce public hearing November 12th. Aadusd Agua Dulce vote December 13th. And Aadusd will bring separate submissions for Empower Generations and Pathways dates to be determined. And we'll have all of these in writing for you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Board members, anything to add here?
Mike Fox, no comment.
Board, thank you for letting staff do their job. Wonderful. Calendar, I'm showing October 8th, 2020 and October 29th, 2020. Board, do you have any date conflicts?
This is Brandon Roque. I don't anticipate a conflict, but just in case, I'm having shoulder surgery earlier that week, and just in case there's any complications with that, I may miss, but I don't anticipate that. That's going to be for the first week of October.
Brandon, thank you for not letting your personal needs get in the way of education of the students of the district. I can't tell if anybody thought that was funny or not. Good luck with that surgery, Brandon. That said, I don't see anything that would stop us from forming a quorum to do the district's business. We will move on to item 14, closed session. We have one thing to report.
Mr. President,
yeah.
I apologize. I think we have one correction on the date. I think Ms. McCauley, it's the 8th, 14 days later is the 22nd. So it should be October 22nd, I believe.
Does that change anything for anyone? Maybe I should clean my glasses. Sorry, guys. Anything on the 22nd? Hearing nothing, report of action taken in closed session, item 14A. The board unanimously approved to settle a student matter based on the staff recommendation. Do I have a motion for adjournment at 8:43?
Jim Jordan, so moved.
Brandon Roque, second.
Call the question.
Mike Fox, aye.
Brandon Roque, aye.
Jim Jordan.
Holly Jensen, aye.
Board 4, Board President, aye, 5-0, meeting adjourned. Board, thank you for your work tonight.
Have a great night, everyone.
Good night.